But this is our agenda, right?
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of value in data, right? No matter where the data is coming from. And so we're gonna go through an investigative approach on the best way to use all this data, because the data comes in a lot of different formats and stuff like that. So, and we'll get into that a little bit. We're going to show you how to actually develop an app within the Splunk platform, and we're going to add some data. Okay, and and then we'll do something we call search and reporting, which is basically using our interface to generate to basically filter data and report on it, and you can create alerts and all these things from it. And we're going to show you how to extract new fields, and that's a critical differentiator and capability we have within Splunk, because data is messy, right? Not everything can fit into rows and columns and to a relational database very easy. So having the scheme on the fly capability is extremely important. So that's kind of what we're going to do, and we're going to show you how to create some of those dashboards and stuff too. So that was the link I just sent you. See what? Oh, so I should have done this. So let me break out of this for a second. Also, is the slide deck. Now it's not the exact same slide deck. This is our standard deck. We customized a little bit for today's event, but majority of the stuff, all the stuff actually being there, plus things that we don't show you, right? Because we tried to de-Splunkify it the best we could, but obviously it's a little hard to do that. So Drew, if you could jump out there and get an instance going, it'll take just a few minutes to spin it up, and we'll keep moving forward. So basically when we come to this slide, what we're really trying to tell you is that there's data everywhere, right? Whether it's data being generated by sensors, whether it's being generated by machine control systems, whether it's being generated by Windows machines, Linux machines, whatever. There's data being generated, and that data has a lot of value to it, especially if you can take a look at that universal of data and near real time. Now, of course, our marketing folks want to say real time. I'm a realist. It's wire speeds. I call it index real time. So it's as fast as we can get the data indexed, and then you can run searches against it. So that's just being an engineer, right? The reality is it's indexed real time. So as fast as we can get it indexed, we can start showing you that data and helping you make sense of it and start making good business decisions with that data. So let's see. Okay, so that data has use across the entire enterprise, right? I mean, it has use within the IT departments who are just trying to keep the lights on, keep the systems up and running. It has a significant value to the security team, because you never know what little piece of information that you collect may have security ramifications. I personally have lived that. Every little piece of information is critical. On the observability side, observability, that's one of the newer spaces that's really come about, and that's due to like microservices and containerization and spinning up and spinning down of systems and processes. You need to collect all that information. So if you ever even have a chance on troubleshooting it or identifying a problem or identifying a potential security risk or a breach, you have to be able to collect that information as the systems are spun up or spun down. We can do that. That Internet of Things, which obviously that's those sensors. It could be mobile devices. It could be you name it. Smart water meters, smart electric meters. If it generates data, we can collect it and we can help companies make sense out of it. And of course, last but definitely not least, we can turn all this into business analytics, right? What does it mean to the top line or the bottom line of a business? Any questions there? That's an important thing for Splunk, because we can take any data, any structure, right? It doesn't matter what the format is. It just doesn't matter. We can take it from any source, as long as we have a method to get the data into Splunk. We can ingest it and start asking questions of that data and start helping businesses make decisions from that data. And of course, scale is extremely important. right? So, and of course, we can scale this solution out to ingest massive amounts of data. I mean, well above petabytes. Awesome. So the investigation approach is pretty simple. Basically we're getting unstructured data from any type of device, any type of system, and then from there we basically ingest it into Splunk, into our indexers. And then as we search that data, that's when we actually start extracting key value pairs or the fields with their values. So you can ask questions. The nice thing about this is we call that schema on the fly. Traditionally when you built out a solution, you had to figure out a way to put the data into a relational database, right? So you had to know the questions that you wanted to ask before you actually build out that schema. Splunk removes that requirement, right? Because we can ingest the data in its raw form, and then as we go to ask questions from the data, we can extract the key value pairs. So much easier. So now you don't have to know what questions you need to ask. You don't know how you have to format the data, because we don't care. You can just ask any question of the data at any point in time, because in my experience, when you ask one question, you get an answer, it usually leads to 3 or 4 more questions, right, that you need to ask. And Splunk's the perfect tool to allow you to continue to ask those questions and dig deeper. All right, so let's see. I'm going to go ahead and build this entire slide out. So at the very bottom, this is how we have collect data. We can collect data in many, many ways. The most popular is the Splunk forwarders, where we literally have a little agent that sits on the endpoint, like a Linux box or a Unix box, that collects the data, or a syslog server that collects the data and sends it to Splunk. But we can also collect data directly off the wire. Use basically packet sniffer, capture the data, ingest a PCAP file, and keep moving forward. We can do that for any of the any protocol, even if it's a custom protocol or whatever. It doesn't matter, because you can just ingest that data. We can also go through APIs. A lot of the cloud services are offering API access to retrieve information. So we can obviously do that. We have server developer or the development kits. So like if you needed to do some development to pull data off a mobile device, you could add a little piece of code to collect the data off a mobile device, send it into Splunk. Also, we could simply just have it do an HTTP post to Splunk. We call that HTTP event collector, or HEC for short. And we can also connect to relational databases. So if there is data in a relational database that's going to add value and can enrich the data that's currently in Splunk, we're able to do that. And the nice thing is that is no cost. There is no additional charges for connecting out to a relational database to enrich data. We can pull data in from containers, as well as we can talk to Kubernetes or OpenShift or stuff, anything like that. And we've kind of already talked about the cloud services. The nice thing is that once with Splunk Cloud, and I'm trying hard not to make this a Splunk sales pitch, but it's kind of critical with what we're doing here today. All that data is load balanced, right? And you never have to understand or worry about what's happening on the back end as far as how many indexers or anything like that that's occurring, or the search load, right? So that all is taken care of by Splunk Cloud. But that's also available if you would like to do that on premises. So any questions there? Okay, silence. All right, so a little deeper into what a universal forwarder is. That is that little agent that I quickly described that collects the data. But with it, it's a very, very important piece, because the universal forwarder can guarantee that we collect all the logs and get the logs into Splunk. We do that through something called, it's a fish bucket. We call it a fish bucket, but really what it is it's a pointer. It says, this is the last record that I picked up for a given file or a given component, Windows registry that that I'm monitoring, and that if the system gets rebooted or connectivity to the indexers gets dropped for whatever reason, or whatever happens, the forwarder knows where it left off. So when it comes back up, it says, okay, I'm going to pick up from the last point and collect all that data and push it forward into the cloud, okay, or into Splunk indexers. Okay, what the data that it can collect is obviously log files, but also those Windows events as well. Those come in kind of a crazy format. So we're able to directly interface with the window event logging service and pull that data off and make it readable within Splunk. We collect all the metrics as well, CPU, memory, disk, network, etc., to help you guys understand how the hardware itself is performing. Talked a little bit about collecting packets and stuff like that already. We can also, from that forwarder, run a script. All right. I'm going to pause right here for a second because I know Roxanne was talking about security and getting her graduate degree in cyber. That is an extremely powerful but also extremely dangerous capability we have. So making sure that you control those configuration files that gets pushed down to the universal forwarders are critical to make sure that you're securing your environment. Because if you can run a script and someone malicious has the ability to push down a script to your forwarders and have it run it, that could end in a very, very bad day. Okay, so just a kind of little sidetrack there for you. We can monitor configuration files. So like if you need some type of traditionally like a tripwire or something like that. So if you're looking just for a change in a file, we can monitor that and alert you if something changes. A lot of customers use that type of service for managing and tightening up their change control. So like if they see a change on a system, they have integrations back to like a ServiceNow or other change control system or ticketing system that can connect those dots and tell you whether there's a change control for a system or not. So that is a very, very good capability within Splunk. And of course, we've already talked about the APIs. We're going through all of that just to give the system time to spin up your instances. So hopefully we'll get into the fun stuff here in a second, okay? So today we're going to have some sample data for you to play with. I've just lost my mind. Hold on a second. We're going to get you that data here in a second. I'm trying to remember. I do like 4 different ones of these, and I can't remember if this is already on the system or not. Hey, William, do you remember? Do we have to send it for this one? Or is it already included in the system?
Sammy, I think there's data in the system already. So
data in the system. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. So basically what we're going to do is there's going to be a log file that we ingest, and then it's going to pull the data in, and you'll be able to start searching it and stuff like that. And you'll have your own instance of Splunk to play with here in a second. And that, like I said, that system will be available for you for 24 hours. So from the time you requested it. All right, next. All right, so let's take, went over too far. Let's take a look at an example machine data. So what we're looking at here is basically a web log. And we're going to show you how different organizations can actually extract value, can pull value out of this web log, all right? So first, we're going to take a look at, just told you it was valuable. First, we're going to take a look at, what the mobile handsets see, right? So from a DevOps use case, you can see that what the platform is, right? It's a Velcro BLK Bluetooth hands-free device. You can see that it's using Mozilla. You see that it is an Android 2.3.5 OS on a Samsung device. So that's very useful information, because if you start having errors or problems start occurring, you could start saying, hey, is it happening on a specific platform, or Is it across, across multiple platforms? So that it gives you that valuable information simply from this one little web log. Next, those web developers can tell you basically, hey, this is the web server it's coming from. That was its client's IP address. The page that was requested, what the error was. It was a 503, right? Tells you the browser was a Mozilla browser, and it, the size of the file. So if you start having, getting 503 errors, you want to know about those. Those are not good errors, right? Not good result codes. So you could quickly build an alert off this to notify someone, and take corrective action to restore the service. And with Splunk's automation capabilities, if it's something that is a known error and you're working through the bug and there's a known fix, you can literally have Splunk run automation to resolve the issue until you fix code or something. All right, so by now, everybody's instance should be up and running. So Roxanne, Drew, are we good? So your password should be admin. Your user ID should be admin. Your password should be changeman.
Sammy, I'm following along too.
Okay, good. So so if you guys can, once you guys are good and you get logged in, let me know. Yeah, we'll take a break. If you guys need a break, just let us know and we'll stop and we'll take one. Otherwise, we'll take one here in about 15 minutes.
Hey, Sammy, it's Mike. Hey, just to be clear, there is data in the system. You do go through a add data process in the demo, but I think they pointed us some web logs on the instances. So
yeah, apologize guys. It's a Monday morning, and like I said, I do about 4 different workshops, and I couldn't remember if this one included the data or not. So see, I told you I'm not a spring chicken. I do forget things. Appreciate that, Michael.
Yep.
So once you guys get logged in, if you could give me a thumbs up or just a verbal I'm in.
I am in.
In.
Awesome.
Yep, logged in.
Perfect. We'll continue forward here. All right. So now I'm glad everybody's in. Perfect. So now let me explain the difference between an app. Now this is Splunk's definitions, okay? So just be fair. The Splunk definition of what an app is and what an add-on is. And we also call them TAs, or technical add-ons. A technical add-on, or the add-ons, it provides Splunk the capability to ingest the data, extract all the key value pairs or the fields and their values, break the events apart into each individual event, and extract the time of the event. That's what the add-on does. Good add-ons also will make the data what we call common information model compliant. Okay, and that's a critical concept. It's basically normalizing the data. So, because not every TA in the past, or not every add-on in the past, would name the source IP address of the data coming in SRC_IP, right? Some of them will literally say source_IP address, right? So, but by making everything having a common name, as such as SRC_IP, when we search for SRC_IP equals 10.10.10.10, it doesn't matter what the log source is, where the data is coming from, whether it be coming from a router, a switch, from a web log, from a proxy server, whatever, we'll find all the events associated to anything that had a source IP address of 10.10.10.10. Did I do a good job explaining that?
Got it.
Got it. Perfect. Okay, so that are the add-ons are a technical app. Okay, now an app is what takes all that data that the add-on extracts, all the events it breaks apart, and it turns them into visualizations, the dashboards, or reports that can be sent out to management or whoever needs the report, and turns those things into alerts. And from all of that, we create the workflow. We can create workflows. All right. So the add-on breaks apart the events, extracts times, extracts key value pairs, makes data SIM compliant. The app, allows you to, or provides the dashboards, the reports, the alerting, visualization, and the workflow. Any questions there?
No.
Awesome. Good. So now is everybody in the tool? Okay. So I need to, and I forgot to do it. Where's my chat window? Here we go. I'm going to bring up one myself. I should have done this a little bit ago. I do have our required principal. Good enough. So I'm going to get in here. Congratulations. All right. And we're going to walk you through all of this, okay? So it is Monday morning. So did anybody have some fun over the weekend? It was a beautiful weekend.
Yeah, I went to an indie bookstore and spent like $93 in books.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Nice.
Bunch of sci-fi
Yeah,
stuff.
Sammy, can I ask where you're based out of?
I'm actually in just out of Dayton, Ohio.
I'm in
How about you guys?
Oshkosh, Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. Okay.
Yeah, Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, Cleveland. So you're up there. Well, we have another few Splunkers that are up in Cleveland. How about you, Drew?
I'm in Princeton, New Jersey, and we also had a really nice weekend too.
Oh, got it. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for this apps and we're going to click on the gear. Okay. Skip. So under Splunk Enterprise, click on the gear right here. And we're going to click on create. Okay. So we'll see that in a second.
I'm not seeing the gear. Where is the gear again?
Okay, so you click up in the left-hand corner, you should see Splunk Enterprise. So if you click that,
Oh, okay.
then you have apps and you should see the gear.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah, Casey, you got a little catching up to do if you'd like, but I can shoot you over the registration link so you can spin up your own instance. If you just look in the chat window. Oh, that's the wrong one. I didn't want to do that. Oh, command. There we go. All right, so we click on the gear.
Sammy, I'll pass that over to Casey. I think he sent it just to me.
Oh, okay, my bad.
I'm
I'm sorry. Thank you.
I'll send it over to him. Done.
Yep, didn't mean to do that. Let me go back to everyone here. So then we click create an app. Okay. Okay, so you get this this folder or add new, and it wants us to create. So just create a name called Splunk for Rookies. The folder name Splunk for Rookies. Apps, and then you'll see it. Okay, so let's walk you through that. So Splunk for Rookies, folder name, Splunk for Rookies. Now we do need to give it a version 1.0.0. It's important to have 3 numbers there separated by periods. You can put the author if you like. You can put a description if you like. We'll choose. It doesn't care if we choose. We're going to choose bare bones. And then you're going to click save. Okay. Everybody still following along?
I'm going to be the slow guy. Can you, sorry, I missed the part where we get to the add app screen.
Okay, so click on Splunk Enterprise.
Okay.
Then you find the gear.
Yep.
And then over to the far right, you see
okay.
browse more apps, and there's create
Got
app.
it. Thank you.
Okay, absolutely. So now when we go to our drop down here, you can see there's the app Splunk for Rookies that we just created. Okay, now what we've just done is that everything, once we select the Splunk for Rookies app here, everything that we do in here, the dashboards we create and everything are automatically going to be assigned to that app. Okay. Now we can change it, but by default it'll be assigned to, Splunk for Rookies. Okay. Any questions there? All right, so let's go to the next slide. All right, so let's go. I thought so. Here we go. So now we're going to go to settings, add data, and okay. And we're going to skip the tour, and we're going to monitor. Okay, and then we're going to say files and directories, and then we're going to click browse. Files and directories. So now, does it want us to do continuous monitor or index once? Let's see what it tells us. It doesn't, so I'll explain the difference between the two. Continuous monitor basically is going to constantly monitor that file. So if something happens to that file, it's going to notify, it's going to notice it and either ingest the new record that was just written or the new event that was just written, or tell you that something changed in that file. Okay, so we can, well, for this exercise, we'll just say index once. I hear some questions.
Yeah, I don't see where it says to monitor. I went into the add data section, but where'd you get monitor from?
Okay, let's back up a little bit. Okay, so here's monitor.
Okay. I did. Oh, there it is. Okay. Now, and then what we're supposed to do after that?
Files and directories.
Files and directories.
We're going to say index once,
Index.
and we're going to browse. Okay, and it's going to bring up this system. So which file? Where is it wanting us to go? It's wanting us to go var log web logs. Okay. So we're going to say var logs web logs.
Okay.
Okay. We'll hit select. And now it's going to ingest everything in that web's log directory. Okay. So let's see what our next steps are. So it should look just like this when you're ready to hit the next button. So now we hit next. Next, here we go. And then from here, we say what source type, and we need to find web access _ combined. Okay. So let's do that. So we're going to source type, we're going to hit select. We're going to drop it down. We're going to say find web. And then access _ combined. Select that. Okay. Oh. Then we hit next. Did it tell us? It didn't tell us what index it wanted us to put it in. Did I miss it?
Sammy, it puts it in the default index. You can
Default
change
index?
it. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so we'll just drop it into default. So does everybody's screen look like this now?
I think so.
Not yet.
Yeah, okay, we'll pause, let you get caught up. Now that's when we defined that source type of access underscore combine, what we did is we told Splunk what add-on to use. That's part of an add-on. And it says this is, you're going to use the access underscore combine add-on. This add-on comes preloaded with Splunk. Nothing you have to do to use this one. And this is going to extract all the data, break apart all the events, and get out the key value pairs. Okay. How we doing, Roxanne?
I got it now.
Awesome. Perfect. So then we hit review up in the upper corner, or yeah, top of the screen, hit review. And it's going to give us, and we just double check, right? Directory monitor, the web logs. There's so access combined, Splunk for rookies is the app. See right there, it automatically assign the app, tell me it's host, and the index is default. So now we're going to hit submit. Up at the top, you'll see the green submit button. Click submit. And then now let's see what it would like us to do. Okay. So now it's going to say, let's go ahead and search. All right. So now it's going to hit the green start searching button. Everybody keeping up? So let's explain this screen for you real quick. So basically this is the source. This shows us the source that we're looking at. So we're looking at everything in that directory where the host name is that, and the source type is access combined. Now the nice thing is that these are the fields, right? Field names source. So you can see the three different sources that we have, all the three different files, Apache underscore 1, 2, and 3. You can see that we only have the one source type of access combined. You can see that we have a host of IP and the IP address. If you look through these other interesting fields, now these are key value pairs or fields and their values that have been extracted during the ingest, or actually during the search, right? So when we executed the search, these fields were extracted, right? You can very easily just click on and see some of the top values of each field. Obviously, you have all the date fields, date, hour, minute, day, month, second, etc. You can see the files that we're looking at. This one here, don't worry about. It's a Splunk field. But there's the indexes that went into main, etc. So these are all the different fields. You can see the URIs, the paths, and everything. So any questions here?
Oh, looking good.
Okay, perfect. So let's move forward. Oop. Getting happy fingers here. So let's start exploring the data, right? So let's just start out with a very, very simple search. Let's just start out with looking for a 503, okay? So let's just jump back over here, go to our search bar, and let's just put a space in the number 503, right? One thing about Splunk, in your search bar up top, a space is an applied and. So if you're familiar with Boolean logic, you have ands and ors and those things. So a space is an applied and. So if I hit return, you notice that it comes back and it shows me everything that has a 503 in the text. This is very much like a Google search, right? It's not necessarily looking for a field value that has a 503, right? It's just looking simply for the text of 503. All right. Any questions there? Okay, good. So now what the next thing it would like for us to do is let's just do something a little more because we can use wild characters, right? So let's look for 503 PUR. PUR. And then put an asterisk. Because the asterisk says I'm looking for anything that starts out with PURCH and anything that follows it. So now I'm looking for the text 503 and the text PURCH and anything that follows CH. If I hit return, you notice that it highlights the purchase, still highlights 503 because those are the two search terms that we looked for. So it very quickly allows me to see where my search terms are in the event itself. Any questions? All right. So now let's even expand it a little further. Let's search for 503. And we're going to say, and where it's either purchase or add to cart. And I put the parentheses in there because I want the word purchase and either, I'm sorry, I want the text 503 and either the word purchase or the word add to cart. Okay. Let's see what that. So now we go back to our search, back it out, add our text, hit return. So now you see that I have the word purchase, the word 503, purchase. If we scroll down, there is our add to cart. So now what we're doing is we're filtering more and more on the data, right? So these are just the very, very entry-level steps on how to filter and use the search bar within Splunk.
Sammy?
So let's keep moving forward. Any questions?
Yeah, I was just noticing that when I first typed that out, I typed it OR lowercase o lowercase r, and it didn't catch that as a keyword. So I noticed that, yeah, I see in notes, it has to be uppercase. Cool.
Yeah, good catch. Thank you. Yeah, those Boolean expressions must be in uppercase. Otherwise, it will take it as the literal OR or the word or. Okay.
Yeah, I ended up with 0 search results the first time. I
Yeah.
go, what?
Yeah, because you look for purchase and or and right cart. So that would make sense. Now we're going to start. Any more questions? Good question, Ken. Good catch. Okay. So now we're actually going to start using the fields. Okay. So we're going to look for a status of 503 and an action of equal purchase. So instead of me just copying and pasting, I'm going to show you another method to use Splunk. So I have the word status here. Right. So I'm going to click on status and I'm going to see my 503. I literally can just click on 503 and you notice it added it to my search window or my search bar. Right. So I deleted the other stuff. So I hit return. The other thing it wanted me to look for was action equal purchase. So I go to the action field. I select purchase. When I click it, you notice it added directly to the search bar. I hit return. And now I'm only seeing events where the source or where the status is equal to 503 and the action is equal to purchase. You notice I'm down to one action of purchase and status is equal to 503. Okay, so all of these events are 503 errors for a purchase. Now that's good to know, right? Because from a business analytics perspective, this is lost revenue or lost money. Someone was trying to purchase something but got a 503 status code. So you'd want to be alerted on this so you could run out and quickly fix it, right? Any questions there?
Everybody so highlighting, when I do the status equals and the action equals, I'm not seeing 503 and purchase highlighted like I did before.
Okay. So you know what? I'm going to stop sharing, and if you would like to share, let me take a look. We can do this with a small group, right? we couldn't do this if it was a very large group.
Just trying to get back used to Zoom. I haven't used it in a while. Here we go.
Oh, that's fine.
So I'm
So
on.
let's scroll all the way up to the top.
Yep.
And let's look at that search, right?
Yep.
So, and can you drag your window over a little more? It's still, or make it full screen.
Yeah, hold on. Oops.
There we go. So source to perfect source type access combined status 503 action purchase. Now, when you go to action, if you highlight action,
Mm-hmm.
in the left on their interesting fields in the left.
So then go over here. Oh,
Yeah. If
this
you
one.
if you click on that, it's the only value for action is now purchase. If you
Mhm.
scroll down and find everything on those fields over there are in alphabetical
Join the
order.
meeting.
So if you scroll down to status,
Mhm.
you only have one status of 503.
Okay.
Does this help?
A little bit. I just thought I was going to see like on the search results some of those fields highlighted as well, but I guess.
Oh, no, because that we're not looking for keywords anymore, right? We're not looking for the word. We're actually selecting a field.
Okay.
We're saying a field value or is equal to 503. So it's going to filter everything out. So everything you see is a 503 status with had an action of purchase.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. If you'd like to stop sharing, I'll go back. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, does everybody see my screen? Am I sharing the wrong one?
Nope,
Oh,
it's
it's
up.
good.
Okay. Oh, click
It
on
was.
the wrong button. I was sharing the right one. There we go. There we go. All right. So
And now we just
So
have a black
now-
screen, Sammy.
now you have.
There we go.
Oh, okay. Because it says I'm sharing. No, we good now?
Yeah, you got the slide deck up. Start exploring your data.
Okay. All right. So now I want everybody to search for a 200 where it is not purchased. Okay. Now I'm not going to show you the answer yet. So everybody take a shot at that. We'll give you a minute or two. But we're looking for status code of 200 where the event is not, or I'm sorry, where this action is not purchase. Everybody think they have it? Okay, so let's jump over and we'll see. Okay, so we want to remove. Well, we could literally, we're looking for a status 200, right? So we're looking for status 200. So I literally can change my status from 503 to 200. And I can either say, put the word not in front of it, or I could use the Boolean or the not equal to in Splunk. Okay, either one will work. So now if I look at actions, I have 4. You notice none of them are purchase, and my status is all 200. Did anybody else come up with a different way of doing it?
I was trying the keyword not.
Okay. So yeah, the word not in front of that. Now this is different. This not is different than the exclamation point equal sign, not equal to. Not says don't include action equals purchase, but include everything else, right? The not equal to, which is the exclamation point equal sign, says do not include anything that has where the action field is equal to purchase. So that's a very subtle difference, but I'm not sure. You almost have to play with the data to understand the difference, because there's some situations to where we're using the word not instead of the exclamation point not equal to makes a difference. So that's just a warning.
Yeah, good to know.
Okay. Yep, very good to know. Yep, because this is explicit. This is an explicit not equal to, where you put the the exclamation point equal sign, not equal to, that's explicit. The other one is just don't include any values that have that, but include everything else, right? So it's different. This one here, okay, here's the other thing. When you have it like this, there must be a field that has an action. So if there's an event that doesn't have the action field, it will not include it. Okay.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. But this one, if you use the not, it'll include every field no matter what, even if the event doesn't have an action field. Does that help?
Yeah, thanks.
Perfect. Good. So let's keep moving forward. Next. All right. So those are the two examples there. Walk through, explain the differences. Okay. So now we're going to dive a little deeper into the Splunk search processing language. We call it SPL for short. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to start doing some statistical demand or stats. We're going to start, in this case, we're going to count by status, right? And then we're going to rename that count as number of events, right? So, but we'll walk through this. All right. So let's go back to our search window. And it wanted us to say action equal purchase. So now we have action equal purchase. I don't remember what, don't think it wanted. So action equals purchase, stats count by status. So now this little pipe, it's what this pipe is, think of it as a funnel, okay? Everything I just searched for, I want you to pipe it to my next statement, okay? So this is a funnel, funnels everything in that I just searched for to the next statement. And what I'm saying, telling it to do is I want to run a stats command. And what I want to do is I want to count. All right. And I'm wanting to count it by the field status. Okay. So before I hit enter, I'm going to run a stats command, and then the sub command is count, and I'm going to count by status. And what I'm doing is that all these different status fields, I'm going to count how many times they occur within my data. Okay. So this is what it's going to look like. All right. So you need to see that status 200, 400, et cetera, and out of the data, these is how often that it occurred. But this isn't very user friendly, right? So to make things a little easier, we can rename those fields. So I can pipe, I can say rename count, which was this field name. And I'm going to rename it as number of events, okay? So now one thing to note, when you're renaming a field, if there are any spaces, you have to put the quotes around it, okay? And if I know from experience, if I cut and paste quotes, it doesn't work. So I need to replace those. So now you notice after I run this command, my count column is now renamed to number of events. So now I can make it a little more user-friendly, very easy by using the rename command. Everybody following along? Everybody good?
Yep.
Awesome. So now let's see what it wants us to do. Okay. Next. Yep, next. So now here we are. We're in Buttercup Games. Okay, so today's scenario is that Buttercup Enterprise is a large national online retailer. We operate here in the United States, and we sell a lot of different stuff. You know, we're like computer to Amazon, right? So books, clothing, gifts, etc., all from our online store. They just recently invested in Splunk, and they're wanting to use it across their entire business. So you get to choose a role, right? And you're a Splunk Power user, and you're going to be responsible for providing information to users throughout the entire company. So you're going to be gathering data and statistics and report on the security of the environment, the IT operations, its development, and their business intelligence. Okay. So we ready to have some fun? So let's go here. IT operations team. So let's do the first scenario first. You need to investigate successful versus unsuccessful web server requests over time. Now I'm not going to assume everybody knows what all the bad requests are, right? So we know a status of 200 is good. A status of 400 or 500 is bad, right? So take 3 minutes and you guys figure out how to find the successful versus unsuccessful web server request over time based on what we just taught you. So let's take a look, right? Let's do the first one, investigate successful versus unsuccessful login attempts. So how would we do that? And it wanted to be over time, okay? So let's do it. There's a couple ways you can do this. So let's do stats count. Well, first thing we need to do is that we want to say let's see, how would we want to do this, right? Should give us an answer here. There we go. All right. So let's do this. Time chart and count by status. Okay, so there's all the successful ones and everything else is unsuccessful, right? If we wanted to visualize that, there's your visualization. We could take that visualization and we could format it. So we could say, let's stack it. All right, so now, and if you mouse over, you can see here, those are my 505s, 503s, 50, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can also mouse over it this way, right? So, not too bad, right?
Pretty slick.
Pretty slick. All right. So, anybody even try to take a shot at number 2? Now that you kind of get a idea of that a little more, see, let's take 4 minutes. We'll come back at 24 or 25 after the hour and see how you guys did with number 2. All right, and kind of mix it up a little bit, guys. I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna hand it off to my partner in crime, William, so that way you get a different voice.
And so the next question was, show the most common customer operating systems. Did we do that? No, that's the one we're working on. Yeah, we did that one?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So that's right here. Okay. So one of the things that we're going to add to this, to your skill set, is something we call a field extraction. So what a field extraction is all about is we might be going through the data and there may be some things, interesting things in the data that are not being picked out by this source type. So Sammy explained way early on in the presentation that these source types are ways for us to kind of predetermine or pre-understand or already know about how the data is set up. So it knows things about that 503 or the status 200, and it can say status equals 200. But there might be a field in here that you want that doesn't exist in this source type. So we're going to create one. We're going to figure out how we can find that user type, or that browser type that's right there. Okay. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to create what's called a field extraction. And so we'll go over to the screen here in a second, but just to kind of walk through it, this first step is to look at any event that you want to get a new field extraction for, and there will be this button, event actions. And then from there, we can extract new fields. Now this is really cool. I can't emphasize this. Anybody on the phone, do you guys play with regex at all?
Yes, kind of begrudgingly sometimes, but
yeah,
yes.
Exactly. Begrudgingly, right? So just a little story. A couple of days ago, I was working on something and it was more personal than anything else. And I wanted to do a regex for something and I could not figure it out. I'm not good at regex. And you know, I'm on regex 101 and I'm trying to get it, but it's not working. And all I ended up doing, which is real easy, I've used this to figure out regex. As I put my search term in an event, I put that event through this process that I'm about to go through. And then Splunk has a really cool regular expression kind of, I don't know what you would call it, artificial intelligence, the way to figure out how to create a regex. And you'll see that here in a second. So I used that and I was able to then put that into my regex that I wanted to create, and it just did it for me. So I've used this, you know, for other things to find regex for other things. But anyways, after we get that button clicked and we go to next, we're going to then highlight this field that we want and give it a name. And that's what we're going to combine this name with that sample field, and it'll be our key and value pair that we're going to create. All right, so let's see if there's anything. Yeah, that just shows you, the next page here just shows you where that shows up. So let's go ahead and I'll show you, walk through that on the Splunk platform. And I need to get, you don't want to see that, you want to see this. Okay. So this is kind of where I left off on our process, but we're going to go back and look at our data. And as we go through, you know, there's that that field that we're trying to pull out, the browser type, correct? So we're going to, I'll just double check here real quick. So click on the arrow to expand an event. So we're looking for where it looks right inside, just past the parentheses there on the browser type. Okay. So we're going to, and that was this one right here. We'll do this one here because that's what the example shows, but this one will end up saying Linux. That's okay. we'll click on here. It says event actions. And we're going to extract new fields. And then there's that button that says regular expression. Notice here too, it's got the field that I selected. So this is the one that this is going to be the sample that we're going to work with to try to create this regex. And we're going to click on that, highlight it, and then say next. There's our sample field again. And it's saying, okay, well, what do you want to select out of this? And you can just sit here and highlight what it is that you want. It'll give it a name. But that's not the one I want. I want this one right here. And what name did it say I wanted to give it?
Platform.
Platform, thank you.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about what the code is, how the code is written that does this.
Okay, you know, should we do the Jeopardy tune right now and you guys come up with a regex and see who wins? No, I'm just kidding. let's go ahead and hit that. And it will go through and it figured out, look at that. It's got Linux, Macintosh, Windows. It's figured out where all those fields are based on simply us highlighting that. So, okay, here's the secret button. Show regular expression. Hey, look at that. If we were to take this, throw it into regex 101, put that as our search, and you should highlight exactly that. That's so cool. I love that. All right. So now we say, all right, this, you kind of go through this and you look through the results and it looks pretty good. I mean, sometimes when you do this, it doesn't quite pick it out. More often than not, it does, but you can go through this and say, hey, that's that all worked out. And you get little check boxes here that say, yep, that's confirmed that, you know, we found that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit, whoops, I didn't want to. You can refine that, by the way. I just accidentally clicked on this sample event. You can refine this too. So notice it put a sub event here and you can go and pull things out if it's not working, but we're not going to do that. I'm going to get rid of that. So here's, again, the sample regex we're going to have. It says validate. This is where you get an opportunity to go through and say, yep, this worked, or no, that didn't, but all of these seem to work. So we're just going to continue on. And once again, it's just giving you one last chance to say, is this exactly what you want to do? Yes or no? Because again, gives you the regex down here. And we hit finish. Say success. So now we should be able to go back. I can just close this window. I don't need it. We should be able to go back here. And if I hit just search again, so it finds everything. If we come through and look down, look, there's that field we created. It wasn't there before. Windows, Macintosh. And so we've got now our list of all the different platforms of the folks that are hitting our website. Pretty cool.
It's very cool. First time I went and created that field, I went back to the tab that had the dashboard and I was reloading it, but it didn't seem to show the platform field in that list.
Is it showing up now?
It is. I ended up going to the tab where I was creating the field extraction, and there was a link to explore the fields that explore the field I just created. So that worked. Anyway, just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, no, that's another way to get to the data. Perfect. So now we've got that extra field. Let's see what they'd like us to do with it. So I just showed you exactly where it was, like I mentioned. Gives you the list that we just saw. And so now we get to use that field. What are we going to do with it? We're going to take, you know, our existing search, and we're going to click on that new field. We're going to say top values, and it'll give us a chart of who the most popular browsers are, or device types that are coming in and using our system. So we'll do that right now. Come down here to platform, say who's my top values. And it gives me exactly that same chart that you saw. Windows pretty popular, very closely followed by Macintosh, and we got some iPhone users and Linux folks that are getting onto our website as well. probably want us to save this chart, right? So let's go to the next one. Add results to your dashboard. So that's going to be a save as dashboard panel. And in this page here, we're going to not say new because we created it new the last time. We're going to say existing. And then you'll notice our dashboard is right there. It's the only one that we have access to. You know, so you could have a bunch of dashboards and add this to any one of them. We're going to add it to the one that's existing. We can give it a panel name. What that'll do is it'll show up in the corner. So I don't think it's set on that page specifically, but I'm going to just call this device types. It probably says it on the next slide, but we'll just give it a name. And if we view this in our dashboard, we click view and dashboard. Now we're going to see our dashboard building out. And you notice when I put device types, that's where it puts it right there. So yeah, it's building our dashboard out right now. Oh, no, it didn't tell us. So I guess I gave it a name. All right. Next step for the DevOps team, we're going to use this for different groups, show the most common customer operating systems and which web browsers are experiencing the most failures. So we're going to add to your vernacular of Splunk processing language, SPL. We use time chart a little bit. We're going to add some things in here, add a limit, and there's an optional step here, another step we can use called use other. So let's see how we do this. And this is our goal, to make it look something like that. So for status greater than or equal to 400, which is, if you think about it, just kind of go real back to our setup here. Back to search. And here's the fun little trick here. You can come into search history. You can see everything we've done so far. And let's go back just real quick. You guys don't have to follow along. I'm just going to do this on the screen. If you go back to this one here, remember that we did this a few steps ago? And actually, that's not the one I want. I was looking for, hang on a second. I was looking for, oh, this one right here. Count by events. And if you think about it, 200 is good, but then everything else is bad, right? And so what we're looking at when we say greater than 400, we're looking at greater than equal than 400. We're looking for all the bad is basically what that statement says. Okay. So let's go back to here. So if status is all the bad, right? Create a chart and count by the user agent. Only get 5 of them, because we could have a bunch of different kinds of user agents. So let's only get 5 of them. And don't use anything else, basically, is that false right there. So let's take a look at what this does. Oopsie, get off the page there. And I'm just going to simply copy this. Oop. Action. So status greater than 400, time chart. Let's take a look at that. So now we've got this chart that's showing all of the, get a visualization, and we got nothing like what we see on the other screen, but let's format this a little bit different. What do they want us to do for that? Does it say? Oopsie. Oh, it doesn't actually give you the, oh, it says area chart. That's what we're looking for. So we're looking for an area chart. And probably the time frame's a little bit off. What happens if we get all time? There we go. That's better. Looks sort of like what we had on that other screen, right? Sort of like that. And we can then add that to our dashboard. We can do a save as, add to dashboard, existing. There's our Buttercup Enterprises, the one we're going to add it to. And hit save, do dashboard. And now we're starting again, we're filling this out. So I'm going to pause right here just for a second, see if everybody's tracking along.
I have, my chart is kind of compressed way at the end, so I'm wondering if I need to change the time scale.
Yeah,
Good
probably
point.
all time. Yeah.
Yeah. I can show you how to do that here. We're going to be, the next step here is to edit this dashboard. We're going to take a side step for a moment and just kind of clean this up for a bit. So I can show you where to do that here in just a moment.
Thanks.
Is everybody else on board with this?
I'm a little behind, but it's all right.
We can pause. I mean, like I said, it's a small group. If you want to take a moment to try to catch up.
And remind me again why in the query you needed to filter out by the host, because for some reason I started searching. I had to refresh the window and I wasn't putting that into the subsequent queries.
Okay, let's go back here.
Was that looking for like all the logs and other folders or something?
Are we looking at just the very last search we did?
Yeah, I just started doing it, everything after the host equals stuff. I just said source type and it worked, but it was probably doing a slightly different query than maybe what you were doing.
Oh, you know what? This host, that is the website. That's the web server.
Okay, the one that I'm
Yeah.
working on.
And
Okay.
quite frankly, we probably could, if we took this out, and I haven't played a lot with this data, but if we took this out, we would either get a bunch of hosts or we would get, I mean, this might be the only one. One way to check that though, is let's just get rid of the whole search and get just what we've got for source. And then we can come back here and see at the top of the selected field,
Just one host.
there's only one host. So really
Yep.
that is the superfluous part of the search. We don't really need it. And where that probably came from is when we first created this data, we added it in there. There's a button in at the end of the process that says, do you want to start searching on this data? And it automatically throws in a short SPL to show, hey, this is all the things that you've got in your data. Quite frankly, we could even get that even further down. See that, let's take a look at our index. It's in main right now. There could be other data in main, but the source would filter that out, or the host could filter that out. So that's just another way of getting a little bit closer to the actual things we're looking for.
So what would happen if you had two indices? Like what would that be representing if you had two options in the index list?
Under index?
Yeah, right here under the list where it says values. If you had multiple there, what would that mean? Like you have different sources of logs?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So I when Sammy was presenting there a little bit ago, I had popped this into the chat, but during this process, the default where we put, if you don't say where you want to put your index or where you want to put your data, it will default to this main.
Okay.
In Splunk best practice, you never want to put stuff in main because that's where everything else goes. It's kind of like a catch-all. So when you're creating the data or importing the data, it's best to create some type of an index for that data. And then usually it would be, maybe this is web logs, and you created an index called web logs or something like that. I think just for expediency in this exercise, they just kind of popped everything into main. But and then you would probably have in an actual enterprise solution, you'd probably have dozens of these indexes for various types of things that, data that you're storing. Yep.
So where in the whole process would you apply that filtering, I guess?
At the very beginning when we imported the data.
Okay.
Yep. And there are some, Sammy, I don't know if you caught the very beginning of his presentation, but he had discussed this concept of apps. In Splunk, an application or an app is think of it as a container of not only data, but representation of data. And you can download from Splunk a number of apps to do a wide variety of things. I'm getting off track just a little bit, but I think this is a really important concept. And so I just clicked on apps and find more apps. And this takes us to, there's actually another website in the background too called Splunk Base. Michael, if you wouldn't mind, just put the Splunk Base URL in the chat box for me, please. And you guys can click on that just to see it for yourself in the future. But if you're working with Cisco products, for example, and you are want to add some apps that are specific to Cisco, you can type in Cisco, and you'll see all of the apps that we have available for various Cisco products and what we can do for them. This would include some of the some pre-contained or pre-created indexes. And so when this data starts coming in, you can place those into those indexes that are created by these particular apps, okay? And then you can create your own. So if you've got your own data that you're trying to work with, you're gonna kind of start from scratch. You can either create an index and add an app, create your own app like we are here with this Splunk for Rookies app. You can containerize it that way. So it just helps keep data separate. Make sense? Okay.
So the whole extraction process is done in the add-ons, right? So that's like a more smaller bit within the app, I guess.
Correct. Yep.
The lower level.
Yep. That's
okay.
part of it. And the process we just went through, the last step with doing a field extraction, is if the app or the source type that you're trying to utilize doesn't have that piece of information that you want, you can always create it. So that was just an exercise in showing you the flexibility.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Roxanne, I'm just checking in with you real quick. Are you able to catch up there while we were chatting for a bit?
Yeah, I forgot I actually had access to the slides too, because I couldn't remember one thing, but I'm good.
Ah, okay, perfect. Yes. And that's, yeah, that very good point. We have the slides available. You just can click on it, and heck, for that matter, if I'm talking too much, you can just move ahead too. So.
Oh, that's so interesting. Thanks.
Yeah. So we're going to expand our usage here of some of the functions we have. And we talked a little bit about stats and what it can do, but it's a really powerful command. Think of different things that you would want to do statistical analysis on. And that some of that's kind of some math functions as well. So let's say, for example, you could create a sum. You want to add up all of the counts that you have and get a total count. Well, that would be like a stats sum, and then the field that you want to sum that by. You can do stats average. You can do, like I said, a whole bunch of different things. In this example, we're going to do a distinct count, meaning that's what is the unique count of these various fields that we have. So I'm just going to quickly pop this in so you can see what it looks like. We need to get back to our app. And I'm going to use my search history to get my basic search going here. I'm just going to pull the last one we did. Make sure we get all time because we seem to be missing a few. But then now that I got that base search there, I'm going to put in that stats command, distinct count by client IP, or client IP by status. And so what that's going to do is look at the various fields that say client IP. Just go back and show you that real quick. There is the field client IP right there. So these are all the different clients that are coming in. We're capturing their IP addresses, and then we're going to get which the unique count for each one of these and display just that information. And so we've got 67 of our users had 200s, 67 had 400s, and so on. Time check. How are we doing here on this, by the way? I'm not sure when we're supposed to end.
I think you've got at least an hour. And are you guys ending at noon Eastern?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I'm here as long as you need me. Is it noon?
We're scheduled to go to noon Eastern.
Okay, perfect. We got an hour and 10 minutes. Unless you guys get bored to tears and need to go somewhere, that's a understandable thing too. Going back to here, so working with statistics, so we just a little bit of that stats function. We can also show this one, do a time chart. Now, time chart is a little bit different than stats. It uses the same functions, average and sum and things like that. There's difference and delta you can get in there. There's lots of different functions, but it does it over time. And so instead of getting a table like this, where you get information in a certain count, this might be, by the way, if you were to graph it, it might be make a good bar chart, right? Time chart says at this specific time, what was my count? And then go forward a half an hour. Now what's my count? Now go forward another half hour. Now what's my count? So this, when you think of these kinds of things, those types of charting wouldn't look good on a bar chart. It's kind of ugly. Time chart makes a great line graph. Make sense? So here's the, how can we predict the future with Splunk? So this is a little bit of using this to do some predictive analysis, maybe. If this is my my search and I use the time chart count, what can we use to, how can we predict the future in this situation? So with some what we call machine learning, to use with a command we call predict, what it's going to do is it's going to look at these averages over time, and then this is where the data stops right here. See where the graph tails off, but it's going to go back in time and say, hey, what happens if we go out and continue this this kind of statistical progression? What can we see happening in the near future? So actually, I'm going to pop this in. I don't know if this is part of the presentation yet, but we're going to just pop that in real quick. Oops. Oh, I see, it's two different. So I'm going to do time chart, and then there's a pipe, and let's see what that does. And there, check it out. So that inside the middle is what our actual data is. And then based on that, it's going out in time and trying to understand what could happen in the future based on the past. Notice too, though, that see the lines at the top and the bottom here, that's our, and I'm sorry, I took statistics a long time ago, but that's like our deviation line, and it's very constant. Right? But then notice what happens as we go out into the future. It starts to increase because, well, we don't have all that data, so it's trying to do its best, but you can see our margin of error is much greater the further out we get. So we're going to go, we just kind of showed you a few extra things in there, but we're going to go on to question number 3, show lost revenue from the website. So we've got this product ID in our data, but we don't have any information about the price for those products. And so the way we're going to fix that, we're going to attach extra information to the data that's not in the data stream. And we're going to do that by using something called a lookup. So the lookup, it's simply a comma delimited file. You can create it in Excel, or there's actually an app in Splunk where you can enter lookup information and it'll do it right there for you. But the cool thing about a lookup is if you've got information that can enhance the data that you have, it's a way of attaching or correlating that information to the stuff that's in your events. Another fun thing, and I did this once for a Splunk search that I was working on, is, you know, those error codes that you saw, the 200s and the 400s and the 503s. I mean, you know, raise your hand. I'm not going to see you. Raise your hand if you know exactly what all of those are, right? You know, I know what a 200 is, and I know what a 503 is, and that's probably about it. You could create a lookup file that says 200 and equals successful, and you could look up, you know, 503, and that's website, you know, failed, right? But you could have one for each one, and then that way, when you have the status equals 200, you could put the information from the lookup in and have the English words there instead of having to just remember what it is. We're going to do the same thing here, Bo, but we're going to do it with product codes and attach that with price. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to click on settings, and then we're going to go to in settings, we're going to go to lookups. We're going to do a lookup table file, and we should find already loaded into your instance this product code CSV. So let's go ahead and see if we can do that. Settings and lookups right here. And we're going to do lookup table files at the top. And look there, right here is our product code CSV file. It's already preloaded for us. That's good. So that was just going to show that there's, make sure that that is there. So check for product code CSV. Yes, we do have it. Hopefully you guys have it, right? We have everybody still with us here? Drew, Roxana?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Cool. So we're going to use the lookup command to attach the product code CSV to the field that says product ID. And we should get some extra information once we do that. Lookup command is going to retrieve that, the category name, and it's going to put that in our list of fields. So let's go see if we can do that. Let's go ahead and pop this in. We've got our base search right there. I'm going to put my pipe in. I got lost in this shuffle there. Cool. We got product ID, and now look, product price. Excuse me for just one moment. Had to hit the clear throat button there. So yeah, we should have now product name and product price, which we do. There's product name. And this is all coming from that CSV file. So inside the CSV file, there's a list of product IDs, and then next to the CM1, it has the name and then the price in that file. And then added, when we did that lookup command, it added these fields as part of that product name that matches, and then product price. And we got that right there. So
Hey, William, just it might be worth mentioning before we dive too far into that. If you out there, if you want to take a look at that product code CSV kind of layout, if you do, I'm going to put it in the chat. it kind of gives you a view of what that file contains. You just do a pipe input lookup product code CSV. It'll show you a table of what's in that file. Kind of helps tie it together, I think. But
Yeah. Cool, thanks. So we're gonna, the goal with this one here is to show the lost revenue from the website, and we're trying to get to something that's just a single value. So we're gonna search for all the fields that have a failed purchase. We're gonna use that lookup command to combine the codes with the price, use time chart and sum that information, and hopefully get this just a single number. And then we can create that into a visualization that we can put on our dashboard. So that's not what we're looking for. There we go. So what's that look like? So we're going to get our, status greater than 400. So all the failed commands or all the failed access to our website. And then we're going to use that same lookup command that we already put in there. And then, as I mentioned, I mentioned sum earlier. This is where we're going to use it. We're going to sum all of the product prices that are associated with things that didn't work out. Is basically what that's saying. Let's just go ahead and pop all that in there. So we've got our status, lookup, time chart. What do we get? We get a bunch of stuff. We got to get this. They also have it set up here by product name, so you can separate it all out. But let's look at this as a single number, and this is what we have on there, and then we can adjust that here in a second with like putting a $sign and stuff like that. But you can see that that's a little bit different than what they have here, but that's probably because just differences in data and things like that. We can add this to our screen, our dashboard. But before we do that, we might want to put like a $sign in front of there and change the color. We can do that by putting in number format, and we can say, what's the unit? And the unit here is dollars, and we want that before the number. So you can see now it's adding that. We can do some color things. So if we wanted to use colors, this is kind of fun in that you can say, you know what, well, lost revenue is always a red, right? But if you had a range, you could say from something to one number is green, and from that number to the next number is blue, and so on. But again, lost revenue is always bad, and we'll just keep it like that. From here, we can do as we've done before. We can add this to our dashboard. So we go to Save As and Dashboard. Our existing dashboard is Buttercup Games, and we could put in here Rost.
This random joke thingy and pass food, for example, and see that it doesn't like a argument and so on.
Sorry. Oop.
Yeah,
Just
that's
about
right.
to ask them to mute.
Not a problem. Actually, I don't think I hit save on that, did I? There we go. Add it to the view the dashboard, and we'll see that number pop up. That's changing because this is actually a live system, or at least it's simulated live. It's getting data into the system, so that number could be changing is different than the stuff that we see in the presentation, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's helpful. I didn't realize it was changing. I didn't have the same number.
Yeah. And then we could separate this out by product name too, if we add the by product name at the end of this. So we could do search. Bring up the last thing that I had, all time. And I could say by product name. Now it's going to separate it out by the various names. And if we do visualization on that, oops, wrong button. I'm not getting that.
Trellis, I think is what you're looking for there.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yep.
There we go. Thank you. So this is giving us all of the different revenues by the various types. And I'm going to skip ahead. I'm not going to do this right now, but you could go in here and for each one of these, you could do that color setup. And so you could give it ranges. It looks like, you know, it's giving some ranges here, but you'd have to go through and say, you know, for Mad Comics, Bat Guy, is it really good that we're losing that much money? You know, it's not so much for this one, but how about, you know, you'd have to play with the ranges to get that right. But it gives you an idea of what they, and I think to get it closer to the other screen, you can go to color and you could do that guy right there. There we go. So that's just giving you putting the color into the background as opposed to the number itself. Is everybody following along, and is that looking like what's on your screen?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. I think we'll just keep going as far as we can, but once we get past number 4, I think we got the gist of what we're trying to do here. So, oh, this one's really fun. IP location and geostats. So, as you all probably know, your IP address that's now attached to your house is attached to your computer and everything like that is, you know, your ISP. And, you know, people know where your ISP is, and you know, your IP is based on, you know, can be tracked to a location. And there's websites out there where you can type in an IP address and it will give you an approximate location of where that host is located in the world. Well, we've got a command in Splunk that does that. It will look at IP addresses and it will go out and figure out where the location is of that. It gives back to Splunk a latitude and longitude, and then we can pipe that information into our geostats command. Geostats then will put latitude and longitude in or on a map in the globe, so you can see exactly where these things are located. In addition to that, we also get city information, country information, so you can get an idea of exactly where, in this situation, people are coming from around the world that are trying to buy your product. Or you could use this in a security situation. I know, Roxana, you were talking about looking at cybersecurity type stuff. You could use this to grab, let's say you're pulling in firewall data of IP addresses that are hitting your firewall and are being rejected for you know, bad access or something like that. You can grab that information and put that on a map as well, so you can see where in the world people are hacking you the most, right? So let's go ahead and add this to our dashboard. So how are we going to do that? Well, the last screen actually gave us some good hints, but we're going to use the IP location command to figure out where our IP addresses are coming in based on the client IP field. And then I mentioned the geostats to count the events that are coming in by the city. And if we want to, we could filter out events that are coming from somewhere else, but we'll come to that here in just a second. So what does that look like? Let's just start. I'm going to skip this one here so you can see everything. It says say optional, so we're going to skip over that. Let's grab that by city. I'll type that in when we get to it. And we're going to do that. It's by city. And we don't want this for right now. We'll come back to that.
It dropped your pipe, William, between the.
I see that. Look at that.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Let's try it now. And we got bad visualizations here. Let's just go to events. Did we get any events? We didn't get any events. Oh no, there we are. We got events. Let's look at our statistics. And the visualization is the wrong one. Obviously, that's not going to give us anything. So we need to change that to either a cluster map. We're going to do that one right there. And there we go. That's better. What's fun too about this is you can zoom in on these if you just either mouse in or you can hit this button. It'll give you a closer view of what's going on. And you can see when it was zoomed out, it kind of aggregated a number of different things. And the closer we get, you can see that it starts to split it out, right? So now we've got Denver, North Carolina are separated. Looks like that's probably as fine as we're going to get. I keep trying to zoom in on this one here in Kansas, but there's nothing extra there. But
What does the value represent?
What's that?
When you hover over, there's a value.
Yeah.
Is that a summation of something? What is that?
Look at that. And then, but it's all kind of pulled it together, right? So the total value is everything that's in there. But you can see down here, there's the one in Mexico, Cuba, and so on, right?
Is that a number of hits or whatever, a number count?
Yeah, it's the total count, right?
Okay,
so the total count for that number of IP addresses from the Denver area, yes. Okay. And then it had us filter out the United States. So let's just go ahead and do that real quick. And we get an all time in there. Well, it didn't certainly like that. So that's probably just some difference in my data or something like that.
Hey, William, try and take out the status 400. I think that's not in the example.
Oh, good point. Thank you. Nope, still not getting any data off that. So
like that either.
But that probably opened up a lot more for the just the general geostats. I probably got a bunch of, yeah, look at that. Some
Yeah, it worked somehow. My search.
Oh, did it? Oh,
Country
good.
is not United States worked for me, but I don't see off the top of my head what the difference was between what I had and what you have.
Yeah, it's probably just each one of our instances is different and unique because it's generating data on the fly. So yeah, it just could be differences in that in the systems that we have set up. So I believe that since every one of these steps has us adding this to our dashboard, we need to add this to our dashboard. So I'm going to add that to our dashboard. Let's see what our dashboard looks like now. There was a cleanup step earlier back, and I got chatting about something else, and I didn't do it. So this is the fourth panel. Let's go ahead and do that step, or at least what I think they're going to ask us to do, and that is we're going to move some things around in here to get this looking the way we want. So you think about this, what dashboards are nice, but typically who consumes dashboards, rather than raw data? It's our executives, it's management, it's people that needs to make decisions off of this data so they can get value out of the information that they're getting. So we're going to edit this to try to make it a little bit more visually appealing. When you click the edit button, now we're in a freeform situation where we're able to move these panels around and help, try to get them to make a little bit more sense with us. This number down here is the one that's the most important to us. We want that to really, really stand out. So we're going to take that, and if you see the double dotted lines, and then where my cursor turns into a cross and plus and everything like that, you're going to get your mouse situated right at that position, click on it. And when you do that, now you can start to move it around anywhere you want. And we're going to take that and just kind of scroll, kind of shimmy this all the way to the top and stick it right there. Okay. And maybe, let's say, for example, this is interesting information, but we don't necessarily need it to take up all that space. So we can come in here and we can make it go side to side. And now we've got these two dashboard panels that are right next to each other. We could do the same with this one. I'm just going to leave it like that. I think you guys get the picture. And then finally, I'm always thinking maps need to have a lot of room to grow, a lot of space, so you can see everything that's going on. So I was going to leave that as large as possible. You can come in and you can edit searches. Now, I believe I actually started to talk about this, Kim, and I think it was Kim that you said that you had maybe your dates set up wrong or your times set up wrong.
Yeah, I think it was Michael. His hint about setting it to all time scale worked for me.
Oh, okay. What I was going to get at is you can come into the search on any of these, and there's the raw search that we use to get to that particular dashboard. But this is where you can go to change your time scale. So if you had like last 24 hours and that was still just showing, well, actually, let's just go ahead and do that. We're going to apply it for the last 24 hours. And look, we just got that bump there, right? And that's not what we wanted. So you could go in, edit your search, and then change the time range. And you could say all time. Another fun thing you could do is, what if we added a time picker? So we can then go take a look at that and say, where's the time picker? There's when you add the time picker in the dashboard, you can go in and say, in real time, I want it to be the last 24 hours. I want it to be all time. I want it to be the last 4 hours or whatever it is, right? So you can add that as part of it as well. You can make this dashboard act in somewhat real time. So it's not real time. Put a lot of taxing processing on the Splunk instance, but maybe once every 30 seconds, you can have it go in and refresh this. Why you might want to do that is if you're using this dashboard for like the background of the digital sign or something like that. Maybe this is in on a wallboard for a call center or something, and then you want this to update on a regular basis. So there we go. You can go in and add those titles. There's some space to add the titles like I did with the device types. You can go ahead and do that. We can change the visualization here. If we said, I don't really like this as an area chart, I wanted to some other kind of a chart, you can change that here. Actually right here, excuse me. And then this was more the visualization. So you can set up the x-axis, y-axis, chart overlays and things like that. So once you're done, do not forget to do this and hit save. Although actually you always have to hit the fun button. The fun button's the dark theme button. Because come on, who doesn't like dark theme, right? Oh, look at that. How are we tracking?
Good. Thanks for pointing out the edit features, because I kept having to hit I was just hitting the back button and then editing my panel and then re-adding it to the dashboard.
Yeah, there you go. No, that's cool. Yeah, what's nice too is if you can clone these panels, you can, let's say this search is similar to something you want, but you just want to adjust it in a quick little way, just one little tweak to add some interesting information. You could go in here and clone this panel, and then just update that search that you saw where you in the editing screen, and now you've got a completely different panel.
So the one thing I was curious about is when we want to add a panel to an existing dashboard, is there any way to change the order that the existing dashboards show up in?
You mean how it shows up on the screen, like here, here, and here, or
In
not
the
sure.
when we're editing the search and we're doing a visualization of a particular search,
Yep,
and then we want to save as and then add it to an existing dashboard,
sure.
the list of existing dashboards, like the way I have mine named, it always appears second. I'm just like, I just want to keep adding it to my the
Oh.
latest dashboard I was adding
that-
to.
Yeah, that's strange. Because I'm going to set up a dummy
Mine always
search here.
default to that Buttercup Enterprises thing. I never really had to change it once I said add to existing.
Yeah, so I'm just grabbing some search that we did in the past to give us an excuse to go to save as, add dashboard. And when you hit existing, do you see more than one in this list?
Yeah, maybe that's right. I do. What do I see? Let me go back to a search. It's probably some weird thing I did.
Yeah, it might have accidentally created another new dashboard.
Yeah, I might have. I probably just had sorry, let me just get a list of the dashboards I have here. Save as dashboard panel, existing. Integrity check of installed files is the first one.
Huh.
Then my dashboard, and then orphaned scheduled searches, reports, and alerts is the third one.
Are you under the Splunk for Rookies app, or are you in the search and reporting app?
Search and reporting.
Okay.
That's why.
Yeah.
Okay. Mystery solved. Thanks.
Sure.
What is the search and reporting? Is that like the default thing? That you
Yeah.
do?
Yep. It's kind of like the catch-all. If you go into search and reporting, you can search and report on anything, any index, any information or data that's there. Think of this as the root of your C drive. And if you're doing searches and things like that in here, while it's perfectly valid and it's not going to harm anything, when you go to maybe look under search history, for example, you're going to see a long list of everything that's ever been done in search and reporting. By focusing it in on an app, like we created at the very beginning, it focuses this in to this particular app. Now, it doesn't mean you can't search all databases or all indexes from here. You certainly can, but it just kind of helps containerize things. Think of it, at least in this context of the discussion, think of this as creating a subdirectory that we're going to be doing our searches in.
Got it.
Okay. It's just more of an organizational thing.
Isn't it useful when people mess up? You get a chance to explain things.
Exactly. Yeah. If you've got people all contained in their own app, it keeps others from seeing those mistakes too. No, it's not that bad. All right. Roxana, how are we doing?
Oh, I'm good. I'm just starting to daydream about food. Yeah, this is cool though. So we have 24 hours to keep playing with it after.
Oh yeah, yeah. And in fact, I mean, if you're daydreaming about food, quite frankly, this is pretty much the all we wanted to accomplish. And we could go through the rest of this, but if you guys want to end early, we could do that too. I mean, this is oh look, hey, try dark mode. That's what I did that already.
That's great.
And this is just talking more about the things we can do with Splunk and hey, you're finished. So I guess we are pretty much at the end. If we want to go get food right now, I can give you guys a half an hour, but you could go through. You've got access to the presentation. I don't need to necessarily go through all of these. The extra developer resources and things like that. So yeah, if you like, we could probably go get some food like right now.
Couple of quick questions though before you log off. I'm curious about like the dashboard or the display mode you're advertising there. Like how would you do that just to show like the dashboard itself without the rest of the Splunk interface? And is there any way to do like a read-only mode so that people can't edit it?
That is something I haven't had a chance to play with. That's a good question. I don't know if Sammy's still on the phone. Are you on the phone still, Sammy? No.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Yeah, simply the answer is yes. You can do read-only modes. It's based on when you create a user through their permission.
Okay.
So yeah.
So what if I wanted to have something, I guess it might be a limited use case, but something more publicly accessible, like anybody with the URL. Maybe that's not the wisest thing to do, but I'm just thinking out loud of different other use cases.
Well, for Splunk cloud environments, that answer is no. Everybody needs to be authenticated because we are SOC 2 certified.
Yep.
Right. But if it was an on-prem, those would be your rules, right?
Right.
Wouldn't I would advise against it because it does open up your environment because Splunk knows all the keys to the kingdom and has all those. So.
Yeah, I do a lot of work in secured environments, so we'd have to end up using something on-prem. In which case, yeah, I guess we'd still set up users and stuff. But a lot of times things are very compartmentalized. Like you physically have to go in through a lot of secure doors to get into these particular areas. And a lot of times we don't provision user accounts for different applications. We just assume if you're in the area, you have the right credentials, but.
Yeah, we could work with you and make sure we understand the requirements and all those things and implement the correct solution.
Got it. And then another.
Go ahead. Yes.
Another quick question I have. Like I have briefly heard from other teams in my company using Kibana. Just what is your 30-second pitch differentiating Splunk versus Kibana?
I have to say I'm not familiar with Kibana. However, I could probably get a 30 seconds pitch on why Splunk in general.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So the real key to Splunk, I think, is the ability to scale. We can scale Splunk out to petabytes of information from a single server collecting data from a few sources to dozens of servers in a clustered fashion collecting data from all over the planet. A lot of your, is Kibana, is that like an open source or is that a paid for? I'm not sure.
I believe it's open source. Like there's a community edition at least. And maybe they provide paid support or something.
Right.
Yeah, it's part of the elk stack, I think, William.
Oh, okay, sure.
Elastic.
And you know, those are fine if you're starting out with something small, but you know, again, if you're a large enterprise that is trying to use this product to collect all sorts of data from all sorts of sources, scale is just probably the key thing for Splunk. Don't for a moment though think that that's not something that we can support the smaller organizations, because we certainly can. And they're for folks that just want to have it and play with it. Frankly, I could probably go for another hour on all of the things that I use Splunk for in my house. It can be used for a wide variety of things, you know, way beyond just, you know, security and IT ops and things like that. So my point there is that there is a free version of Splunk. You can go to our website. If you go to splunk.com and you go to free Splunk, actually you can get a free Splunk cloud instance that will work for, I think it's a month. Not quite, I can't quite remember, but maybe shorter than that. But it always pops you up to the free Splunk trial to try to get you on the Splunk cloud first. But keep drilling down, hit this free Splunk button again, and you'll get to free downloads and trials. You could do Splunk Enterprise, 60-day trial, thank you. And what this will give you is an instance that will work for 500 meg a day. And after 60 days, it will still be able to work, but it's going to be a little bit less than 500 meg a day. I'm not sure what it is, but you can continue to use this after the trial. So it's just going to be a limited version. That's all.
Got it. And then so anything beyond those limits is a paid tier, and what is the pricing like?
We don't have any sales reps on the call.
Right. Yeah, no worries.
So I'd have to defer to one of them when it comes to
Okay.
pricing. So yeah, I don't want to get in trouble with the quoting things on the phone. So contact your local Splunk representative for further details.
I'm
Yeah,
curious
can
what
you see
you
anything
use.
on the website for
Sorry,
the
go ahead.
pricing?
Yeah.
I'm curious what you mentioned using Splunk at home. I'm curious what else you use it for. Like what
Oh
sort of
my.
things do you use it with?
Oh my goodness gracious. Sammy, do I want to open that up?
Sure, go for it.
I have a server here at home. I call it SATH, or Splunk at Home. That's the name of my server right there. And I have a bunch of the little apps that I've created for myself. But I've got one I call my home app. And for example, I've got dashboards. I'm big into home automation, and I have created a whole bunch of temperature sensors, temperature and humidity sensors. So I have a bunch of temp sensors around my house, and you're going to see the names of my kids here in a second. So although I probably should edit this part out, Kim, because you said this might hit YouTube, right?
Yeah, it is actually going out. So sorry about that.
And I'm getting temperature information from all of the different sensors, temperature and humidity. Plus, I have temperature sensors in my office, so it's right now 70 degrees where I'm at. And we even have a sensor in our chicken coop. It's 56 degrees in the chicken coop.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I've got a sensor outside as well. And you can see the weather yesterday got to a peak of 67 some odd degrees. And the low was a few days ago was down in the 20s.
Thanks.
Are you querying a database for that, or log files? What do you do for that?
All of my sensors are using something called MQTT. It's a way for sensors to communicate over the network in real time. And I log that information as it comes in and store it in Splunk.
Very cool.
I also, for those sensors, some of them are locally powered and some of them are battery powered. So the battery powered ones, I have, I'm getting battery information from those sensors. So green is good, yellow is starting to, I might need to start thinking about changing batteries. Everything else seems to be good right now. We have absolutely horrendous water in my house. I have every water softening and filtering product you can think of. If we run out of salt, it's kind of disastrous. It means lots of cleaning and things like that. So I Splunk my water softener. You can see what the status is when I've added salt, when you can actually see when it cycles, what days it cycled, and you can see when salt has been added. I've got a little indication of the last date that salt was added. And if you just look at the numbers here, what I really need is a dashboard that says, average salt adding time, from this point to that point. And I could do that predict thing and predict out what this next date is. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but.
At some point, would you put in an alert that would let you know when it drops below a certain amount?
I can do that, but as part of in Splunk, but as part of my home automation system, I already have that. I've kind of built scripts prior to some of the stuff I've done in Splunk that send alerts. I have a visual flag that comes up on display devices throughout my house that say it's time to add salt.
Can you add like an encrypted connection? Because I noticed it doesn't have that. Is that possible to do that?
Are we talking about what?
SSL.
Sure. Yeah, SSL. Can you do that for your instances?
Yes. Are you talking about the
Yeah.
Oh yeah, certainly. Yeah, this one is just because it's local, but yeah, I could certainly add a certificate to that and make it HTTPS. Sure, not a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Some other things. This is not kind of something that Sammy and Michael and I all worked on. We actually have two instances of Splunk in AWS that we share together. And we're starting to fill this out. That's kind of what I just showed you is my own personal stuff, but there's some of my house information is actually going into the cloud as well. So if I come to here, this is a metrics system that we have that's available. Anybody that wants to send metrics in. Sammy kind of touched on how to get metrics in from Windows servers, Linux servers, and things like that. And I have in here, all of my servers are sending metrics to this particular device. Sammy's is the one on the top. Everything else is mine at my house. So you can see that server that I was just showing you, all that data comes from this one that's called Jarvis. And where I'm able to get CPU information about that particular server, disk space, memory usage, read-write requests, and processes that are happening right now. Mosquito, by the way, is the MQTT server or service, excuse me, that runs in the background that collects my sensor information. So yeah, that's one reason why that PID would be up at the top. Actually, FFmpeg, I use this for, it's a video conversion application that's native to Linux. I think you can do it in Windows as well. But I take security camera information that I have on a camera outside my house and then convert that in real time to individual pictures that I can put on the display devices. So I can't watch real-time video, but I get snapshots. I can see people coming and going from my driveway and stuff. So that's, I mean, just little fun things to add to the story, right?
Wow. Now that's tech chops.
Yeah, it's tech. That's techie stuff. Hey, look,
just-
I got some Python going here too.
Yay, Python.
Hey, Python.
William, I want to mention that I checked with my fellow producers for Loudswarm, and they are going to edit out personal information before the video gets posted to YouTube.
Ah, perfect.
So I let them know that about what time. I think in your dashboard, your kid's name showed up, but so hopefully, yeah, none of that will go up.
Okay, yeah, perfect. I mean, if they want to lob off this whole last part of the talk, we're just chit-chatting now, right?
Yeah, but actually, I find this really quite interesting. Maybe viewers on YouTube would appreciate seeing how you set things up, how flexible it is.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I find it really interesting too. I've done a number of weather station type applications on my own to track different stuff. I have a webcam on a family cottage in the mountains up in New Hampshire, and just kind of neat to take like sunset photos and stuff. And I've done like various temperature sensing things, which is kind of fun to have tracking in the background.
Yeah, all of my sensors are based off of the ESP8266, and I flash those with Arduino IDE.
Gotcha.
It's a real simple little sensor. I use BME 800, I think it is, or 8. No, I can't remember the number. It's more of a humidity sensor than anything else, but it does have temperature as part of it. So it's a really accurate humidity sensor, but then it also does temperature, and I use those for a lot. There's also the DT. I'm gonna get this wrong. Yeah, I can't remember what it is. It's another temperature sensor that's pretty popular with the home automation community.
So then you're using the Arduino to route it back onto the network, or using like Raspberry Pi or something? What are you
Oh, no,
using?
no, it talks MQTT right to the network. I don't have to use Raspberry Pi or anything like that. And then I've got, it's a Python script actually that pulls the MQTT information off the wire as it's coming in. So you have, are you familiar with MQTT?
I'm not, no, this is new to me.
Oh, okay. It is a topic subscriber type of architecture. So before I started playing with it, I would have a web server and use PHP scripts, and I would send API type calls with the data that I wanted to send. The problem with that is the connection time. It was fine if like that's how we started with my water softener sensor, for example, is it would send an API call that I created with the distance of that reading, and this PHP script would pick it up and then put it into a file. That script was only called once every 10 minutes, and so the time that it took for it to make a connection, to send the data and then close the connection was perfectly fine. I tried to do another one where I wanted to get data once a second from a sensor, and it was failing because the connection time between the TCP connect and the HTTP connect, and I mean all the connections that had to happen. The wireless connect, that's another thing too. You got to talk to the wireless access point. It was not able to keep up, and I was not getting the data as fast. With MQTT, it makes a connection, holds onto the connection, and it just starts spewing data. And it's basically a broadcast on the network, so you have to have something to pick it up, and that's what the broker does. It's I didn't mention that, but that's what that mosquito right here. It's called a MQTT broker, and it will pick up what's on the wire. You still need something else to store the data, but that's kind of what grabs it. So it's a kind of a combination between the broker and then a script that I wrote in Python that stores that information.
Got it.
And once it's stored, it's just stored in a file, and I put it in JSON format, and Splunk can read JSON without a problem.
Gotcha. So you could even use like a database or something if you really wanted.
If you wanted to, but there's really no need if you're using Splunk in the background. Sure, it does. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to do it that way. Speaking of databases, and again, I'm just chit chatting here. I am a private pilot. No, we're on the wrong one.
So am I.
Hey, I Splunked my logbook.
Have you been to Oshkosh then for EAA?
I have not been to Oshkosh for EA.
I've been out there around, like, it was a couple of weeks before. This is a long time ago, and it was little. My dad's a pilot as well, but he's been out many times, probably like 20 or 30 years ago, but I've heard of it.
It's awesome here. So many people. Well, I mean, before COVID, I think something like total visits of 450,000 people, and Oshkosh itself is only about 65,000 people. So the whole area just fills up. It's amazing. The campground, all the planes flying in, parked side by side, tents and everything, and campers, and pretty much the west side of town here where the airport is. You just don't want to go unless you're willing to brave the traffic and the huge lines at restaurants.
It's exciting. Do you think you're going to have it this year?
Let me check with you. I think they're going to try. Let me just check for sure.
Because I think last summer it got definitely canceled.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did. Well, I splunked my logbook, and this is a database. So I actually have my stuff in a MySQL database, and that's another data source that Splunk can use, is to pull information from a database. So I'm creating dashboards based on that information. So yeah, this guy here uses an app called DB Connect, and we can look at the database from I can connect to that, and it looks at the SQL directly. So it's pulling out the all the different spots for, you know, the date and the where it's coming from and everything like that. So for the pilots on the call, you'll recognize some of this, right?
Yep.
Back when I started.
Or flight these days, but yeah, it's the same thing. It's cool.
Yeah, back when I started back in 1982.
You've got a couple more years on me. I'm a lot younger. I was born in 1993.
Yeah.
Wow, 82. That is a while.
Yeah.
Experience.
Go back a little bit, sure. Well, is there any other questions, or you wanted to chit chat about anything else?
No, it's pretty good. Thank you for the overview. It's definitely going to be very useful. I'll definitely try to figure out ways we might be able to use this in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity too, and you're laying this out nice and clearly and giving us a good rundown of what's possible. I've been looking for an opportunity to find out more about Splunk, and so this has been great.
Okay. Checking in with Roxanne. Are you still dreaming about food?
A little bit. This was interesting though. So
Okay. Yeah, we kind of got off on a tangent there, but by the same token, I think it's good to see that Splunk's not just, you know, website data or security information or anything like that. You can use it for a wide variety of different purposes, and pretty much anything you can think of that you want to visualize data with, Splunk can help. Well, before we finish, I want to give Sammy and Michael a chance to say goodbye and any closing thoughts.
Oh, very good. Appreciate you transitioning, William. And if nobody has anything else, we can drop and we can go grab something to eat.
Yeah, Michael,
You have anything?
any comments, Michael?
Thanks. Just thanks for joining. If you got any questions, feel free to reach out.
Yeah.